The MOS of a 31 Delta in the United States Army is a criminal investigation special agent, otherwise known as CID. Now, the primary job duties of a 31 Delta is to conduct criminal investigations for the Army, such as crimes on Army installation or somewhere that the Army is or may be a party of interest. They'll also process crime scenes, interrogations, and much more. Now, it's also important to note that the crimes that these individuals are investigating are felony-level crimes. This MOS is available for enlisted soldiers looking to go active duty, National Guard, or reserves. However, for reserves, it is going to have a little bit more requirements along with that, and that includes having at least 1 year of military police experience or at least 2 years of civilian police experience. There's also a lot of other requirements that go along with this MOS, and I'll get into those a little bit later. Now, an individual will have to have a high school diploma or a GED, as well as be a U.S. citizen for this MOS, and also take the ASVAB. Now, it's also important to note that one of the ways to get into this line of work, into this MOS, is already being in the military, and that's going to require you to have at least 2 years of military experience, but no more than 10. There is one way you can go directly into this MOS, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, they are still going to be looking at your ASVAB scores, as there are 2 scores that are specifically looking at to qualify for this MOS. One of those being the general technical section of the ASVAB, where you must at least have a minimum of a 110. And the skilled technical section of the ASVAB, where you must at least have a minimum of a 107. Now, the training for this MOS, with the first option of already having to have the minimum of 2 years in the Army, then you've already done the 10 weeks of basic training. So then someone who's already in the Army who qualifies for this would go on to 6 weeks of specialized training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the key requirements that go along with qualifying for this MOS, but if you want to know all of the requirements, I'm going to leave a link down in the description box so you can check out later, and you can see all of the requirements. Now, some of the key requirements will include one of them being that you must at least be the age of 21. You will have to have completed the Basic Leaders course, otherwise known as BLC. Now, if you're not familiar with what a BLC is, it's essentially a leadership course that soldiers have to go through in order to get to the pay grade of an E5, which is the rank of a sergeant. And then along with that, there's obviously some rank requirements as well. You're going to have to at least be either the pay grade of an E4 or the pay grade of an E5. And that's obviously being either a specialist or a corporal or a sergeant. There's also some college requirements, as you're going to have at least 60 semester hours, which is also an associate's degree. Now, it doesn't matter what area you have your associate's degree or these 60 credit hours, but it will matter for the second option. That second option of you just want to go straight into being an CID. And let me talk about some of those key requirements. Some of them are very similar, but there are some key differences that I'll talk about. Also, still, those requirements will be in that same link down in the description box as well. Now, for this route, it is going to require you to come into the Army as a 31 Bravo, which is a military police officer, so you'll have to go through 1 station unit training, otherwise known as OSIT, and that is located at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Upon completion of that, you would move on to the CID Special Agent course. Now, for this option, it does also have some college requirements, but this one is going to require a bachelor's degree, and it has to be in one of these specific fields that I have listed right here. So if you need to pause the video to check those out, feel free to do so. Now, I've probably only met maybe a couple of individuals that were CID, so I didn't directly work with any of these individuals. Sometimes you don't even know that they're CID because sometimes they're not, in the typical Army uniform. They're in maybe some kind of civilian attire, some kind of other special kind of like, almost looks like a civilian police officer type of attire. But these individuals would be somewhat working with military police officers. They don't usually work in the same area. They usually have their own dedicated, CID headquarters, CID office and everything. But obviously being in the line of work they're in, that you're going to be doing some stuff with, some of these military police officers or some of these civilian police officers that work on an Army installation. As far as jobs outside of the Army, then this would probably be key for someone who maybe wants to do this on the civilian side, but wanted to kind of get their feet wet a little bit and do it on the military side first, and maybe starting off as an MP or whatever MOS, and then get into CID, and then transitioning out of the Army and becoming a criminal investigator on the civilian sector. So if you enjoyed that MOS breakdown, make sure to show some love by hitting the thumbs up. Got some recommended videos over here, including a playlist to some previous MOS Monday episodes that I've already covered. Links are down in the description for social media, PO Box, all that awesome stuff. I'm ChristopherChaos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.